Hey, how are you doing? I hope you are fine and everything is okay. And I'm sure everybody's doing well and trading is fine to anyone who is following this channel. And also for those who have got other sources of knowledge, actually, I'm sure they are doing well. But now, if it is your first time when you are reaching this channel, so make sure that you subscribe to be able to get all of the contents that are released session-wise from this channel. And here is Awesome Forex TZ, and mainly we are dealing with providing free contents to every people through around the world. And now we are coming to what we call the advanced forex course. Advanced forex course usually is not for free in most of parts, or to most of people. Actually, they don't provide this session for advanced courses for free. But we are going to present certain contents from advanced course, but will not be everything, because usually you are advised not to reveal everything that you know. So we will reveal some of the contents from advanced course, but for those who pay for the courses, for those who pay for advanced course or for forex courses, usually they get everything. But for this free course, we are going to provide certain contents that come from advanced course, and mainly in what to call the Elliott Wave rules and guidelines. We are going to consider mainly two areas. We will consider the issues on rules, and then we'll consider the issues on guidelines. Now, we're going to see what are the Elliott Wave rules and what are the Elliott Wave guidelines, because mainly once Elliott discovered the principle, therefore there were certain things that must be considered in order to have that we call a proper count. In order to have a perfect count, you must follow certain things. Now, those things we have of two categories. We have those who call the rules, and then we have those who call the guidelines. But mainly, when we're talking about the rules are things that should not be disregarded. They should not be disregarded, or they should not be broken. In another way, we can say that these are the statements or things or conditions that the market should not break. Or when you are making a count in a market, you have not to break a rule. But the guidelines, usually they are broken. Therefore, in a basic theme, usually most of mentors, they provide three basic rules. Usually they provide it to their students, or yes, to anyone else. They provide three basic rules. The first one is, now the first common rule is wave number 2. Usually the first one is wave number 2 never move or retrace. Never move or retrace beyond. It never move or retrace beyond the beginning. It never move or retrace beyond the beginning of wave 1. That's the first principle that most of mentors actually they provide, and most of students they end up thinking that those are the only rules. But make sure that you understand in a wide picture that those rules and guidelines, they apply in every pattern. They apply in every variations, and also they apply in every combination. Each pattern have got its own rule and guidelines. Each maybe variation has got its own rule and guidelines, and each combination has got its own rule and guidelines. So in advanced forex course, we are going to explore those informations in terms of each pattern and its major variations. But now, this is not just for the first time we are presenting this. We already have certain recordings for those who visit this channel, who were visiting this channel since several years ago. Actually, they already made this recording. This was Elliott Wave. This was Elliott Wave principle and the guidelines. Now we had this recording, and mainly it was composed of all of the major variations in advanced the Elliott Wave aspect. But the problem with this recording, it didn't have an audio, because it was a very long recording, and mainly due to problems on exporting. I think it was exporting, and I think sometimes maybe from during recording, actually we got an error whereby this recording it didn't have an audio. Therefore, most of people, they requested to have another recording, and we promised that we will record another session for advanced Elliott Wave. So we are going to introduce the concept through this first recording. We are introducing the concept on advanced Elliott wave. So you have to go with us throughout the sessions, because we expect to have not less than 12 sessions. We are going to have not less than 12 sessions, and this is the first session out of 12. This is the first session out of 12. So if you need to get all of the sessions, make sure that you subscribe this channel in order to be able to get those updates from other sessions. But this is only for introductory part. Now, the first principle, now this is the first rule, or the first principle is wave number 2, never retrace or never move beyond the beginning of wave 1. Now, I will present this in terms of wave structure, because this one is presentable in terms of wave structure. And when you are counting any wave pattern, and mainly in an impasse, usually you must consider that thing. Even though this one applies even in what to call the diagonal, it is not only on impasse, it also applies in diagonal. Therefore, make sure that wave number 1 do not move beyond the beginning of, wave number 2 never move beyond the beginning of wave number 1. Then the second thing, or the second principle, is wave number 3. Wave number 3, never the shortest. Never be the shortest. Wave number 3, never be the shortest. Actually, when you are making your counts, you have to take a consideration of the length, that is ratio between one wave and another. So make sure that the ratio between wave number 3 in relation to other waves is never the shortest of the wave number 1 and wave number 5. Usually wave number 3 should respect any one of the following. First of all, it may be the longest of all of the wave number 1 and wave number 5. That's the first thing. It must be in that way. Or if there is any potential variation, wave number 3 should be equal to wave number 1, or should be equal to wave number 5. But it will never be the shortest. Therefore, wave number 5 may be the shortest of all of the 3 and 5. 1 and 3, and also wave number 1 may be the shortest of all the wave number 3 and wave number 5, but wave number 3 never be the shortest, but it can have equal travel distance between wave number 1 and wave number 3, or wave number 5 and wave number 3. Therefore, that is another thing that you should take into consideration when you are making those what to call the wave counts. And then the last thing, or the major principle, or the major rule that most of the mentors they usually present, they present this. Wave number 4, we have this to call wave number 4. Wave number 4 never enters the price territory. Never enter the pricey territory. We have this to call it territory of wave number 1. Actually, it is something like that, and mainly this is in impasse also. That's why I've said that when you are learning about those rules and guidelines, they apply in every pattern, they apply in every variation, and also they apply in combinations. Therefore, when we are talking about this rule, wave number 4 never enters the price territory of wave number 1. This usually applies in impasse. When we come to diagonal, a diagonal have got their own rule, whereby wave number 4 may enter the price territory of wave number 1, and actually the rule will never be broken. But in impasses, when wave number 4 enters the price territory of wave number 1, actually the rule will be already broken. So now, when we want to present this, we can have a diagrammatical representation of those informations here. We can have a diagrammatical representation of all of those basic things that most of the mentors actually they present. We have said that. Let's go to those things there. The rules and guidelines. Actually, rules, when we're talking about those who call the rules, actually should never be disregarded, or should never be broken. Therefore, wave number 2 never retrace to more than 100 of wave number 1, or never retrace beyond the beginning of wave number 1. Therefore, if you have a market structure, we have wave number 1, then to the top here is 1, then wave number 2, when it moves down, it should never travel beyond this level. Therefore, it may move close to this level, but it must never break this level, and then it proceeds to the upside. Therefore, that's the meaning of this rule number 1. Wave number 2 never retraces to more than 100 of the wave number 1. Then the second rule is wave number 3 never be the shortest of wave of among wave number 1 and wave number 5. Therefore, this one was number 2, and then the wave which is moving to the top now, this will be wave number 3. Therefore, now the distance traveled by wave number 1, actually it may be equal to the distance at which wave number 3 may travel, and also it may be equal to the distance at which wave number 5 may travel, but the distance of wave number 3 should never be the shortest. Therefore, it may be equal. Being equal, it's not a problem, but this also number 3 sometimes may be shorter than wave number 1, but wave number 5 should be maybe almost equal to wave number 3. Therefore, this applies on the, we'll see the guideline of equality. Actually, we'll find that wave number 1 and wave number 3 also they can be equal, or wave number 3 and wave number 5 they can be equal, and extension may occur maybe in wave number 1, also extension may occur in wave number 5, whereby when extension is in wave number 5, wave number 3 will be equal to wave number 1. When extension is in wave number 1, wave number 3 will be equal to wave number 5. Therefore, now the distance travel of this wave number 3 should never be shorter than the distance of wave number 1 and wave number 5. Then when this applies, we come to this to the third rule, whereby wave number 4 in impasse cannot enter the territory of wave number 1. Therefore, if wave number 4 it is just a corrective structure, then we have this top of the wave number 1. Now this top of wave number 1, this is the price territory of wave number 1. Therefore, when wave number 4 corrects this wave number 3 down, therefore it should never travel to the point at which wave number 1 ended. That is in an impasse. Actually, this applies in an impasse, but when we come to diagonal, maybe ending or leading diagonal, actually they may travel down to this level, to the level of wave number 1. But in an impasse, actually it must end outside of the price territory of the wave number 4. Then when you come to the guideline of, it is a guideline of what to call the alteration. We will consider those things. Actually, I'm talking about guidelines, but basically now we were taking consideration of principles. Therefore, in order to apply Elliott wave principle correctly or profitably, you must integrate all of the rules, then integrate them with the guidelines. The rules or the principles, you have to integrate them with the guideline. That's why if you will integrate with the issues on the guideline of extension, the guideline of alteration, you will find that this wave number 4 usually the sideways correction. Therefore, being sideways correction, it means it will not be deep like how this wave number 2 was, and then therefore it will not be able to travel to the price territory of the wave number 1. Therefore, this will be wave number 4, and finally we'll have wave number 5 up. This will be wave number 5 to the top. Therefore, now mainly at the basic level, we expect to see wave number 3 as the longest wave, or it traveled the longer distance compared to wave number 1 and wave number 5. This is at the basic level, and how the things applies mainly it is at the basic level. But when we come to advanced level, you'll find that this wave number 3 is not necessary all the time to be the longest. Sometimes maybe number 5 can be the longest, or sometimes wave number 1 can be the longest, but wave number 3 should never be the shortest. Therefore, it can take equality with wave number 1, or it may have equality with wave number 5. So anything can happen, but at the basic level, we expect almost or always wave number 3 should be the longest. Therefore, those are the things covered at the basic level. Those are the informations covered at the basic level based on what to call the rules. And now, when we come to advanced level, you will find that mainly when we integrate those rules of the waves, and then when we integrate them with the issues on guidelines, we'll get other things which are quite different from what we expect it must happen in basic level. Therefore, in advanced level, you will find that those guidelines will apply in what we call the basic patterns. We have those who call the 5 basic patterns. Mainly they are usually 5 basic patterns. We have the 5 basic patterns. Actually, those guidelines will apply on the 5 basic patterns. And also, when you come, it is not only guidelines. Actually, we can have the principles and guidelines. Mainly, we have principles and guidelines. We have principles for, or we have rules for basic patterns. Things like zigzag, things like triangle, things like diagonal. Actually, all of them, they have got their own guidelines and principles. I mean guidelines and the rules. And then we have those who call the variations. We have all what we call the variations. Variations, actually, we can see them when we take consideration of triangles. We can find that you may have a triangle, but sometimes it can be contracting triangle, sometimes it can be expanding triangle, or sometimes it can be descending triangle or ascending triangle. Therefore, those are what we call the variations. Therefore, those triangles with their own variations, or with all of those variations, they have got their rules and also they have got their guidelines. And the last thing where we will discuss, and maybe now this is on advanced part now, the last thing that we are going to discuss on advanced part, we will see how those rules and guidelines apply on combinations. Actually, combinations have got their own rules and guidelines. Therefore, also, we will take consideration on how combinations, they are guided by rules, and how they have got those what to call the guidelines. So now, as advanced part of forex, it will start with, we have those who call the rules. Example now, well, this is an example. We have this as an example. Mainly, the first wave move, we have those who call the motive waves. The first wave move, we have those who call the motive waves. Motive waves, these are the waves that move in the same direction. They move in the same direction as the higher degree wave. Those are called the motive wave. They have a similar direction to the higher degree move. Therefore, those are what we call the motive. And those motive waves, they are of 2 types. Actually, motive waves, they come out into 2 types, whereby the first one, a motive can be an impasse, and then a motive can be a diagonal. A motive, all of them, they are motive because they are moving in a direction of the trend, but the building structure actually is different. Therefore, due to variation on the building structures, that's why we come out with what we call the impasses, and then we come out with what we call the diagonal. Therefore, mainly when we are talking about those who call the impasse is what we call the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, or the 5 wave move to the direction of the major trend. Those are what we call the impasse. But diagonal also is the 5 wave move to the direction of the major trend, but we will have minor variations whereby this impasse usually is made up of what we call, it has got what we call the 5, 3, then 5, finally 3. This is its building structure. It means the first wave in an impasse has got 5 internal waves, the second has got 3 internal waves, the third has got 5 internal waves, and the last one has got 5 internal waves. So having this 5-3-5-3 structure, this gives the message of having an impasse. Now, generally, this is based on the building. I mean, it is the internal structure of the wave. But when you look on the overall structure, also the overall structure, it may give you a picture of whether this 5-3-5-5 is 5-3 is an impasse or a diagonal, because diagonal, they are of 2 categories also. Diagonal of 2 categories. It can be a leading diagonal, or it can be a what to call the ending diagonal. We have the leading diagonal and the ending diagonal. Therefore, you will find that leading diagonal have got similar structure as the impasse. It has got also the 5-3 5-3 structure. It has got the similar structures as an impasse, but the major difference between this impasse and the diagonal is that when you look on the overall structure of the market at one point, maybe when it is building a diagonal, you will find that the volume will be decreasing as long as the price is moving to a certain direction. The volume will be decreasing, therefore it will have one end which is wider, which is, one end will be very wide than another end. Therefore, those the market move will be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Therefore, if you find that the market is moving in a channel like that with a narrowing end, now this will give a message of diagonal. Therefore, if you find that diagonal has got internal building of 5, 3, 5, 3, that means that this was the first wave, this was the second, the third wave, the fourth, and the fifth. Now, if we find that the first one, its internal structures go to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, then this has got 1, 2, 3, then this is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 to the top. This will mean this will mean that this is leading diagonal. But ending diagonal, it is just different from its building structure. Internal structure is different from impasse and leading diagonal, whereby an ending diagonal has got a 3, 3, 3, 3 structure. A 3, 3 structure, this means that its first wave has got 1, 2, 3 to the top. The second wave has got 1, 2, 3 to the downside. The third one has got 1, 2, 3 to the top, then 1, 2, 3 to the downside. It means when you explore the internal building of the waves, you'll find that they have different building. The first wave has different building from that first wave of the leading diagonal. Now, therefore, this was just a description on what are the motive waves actually, and actually I've described it in a very detailed way, and mainly this was already described. I will link you to those videos that explains about the issues on diagonal. Also they explain the issues on triangles, and actually that part was like, yes, it was advanced part. It was advanced part, but here generally we need to take you session wise throughout the advanced course in Elliott wave. We're going to take you session wise, but previously we had random recording. We had a random recording. We record maybe triangles in advanced level, then we record diagonals in advanced level, or any other potential variations. They were recorded randomly, but now we need to take you session wise, and this is just an introduction to what we call the advanced Elliott wave course. So make sure that you go with us throughout all of the remaining sessions or the coming sessions, and as I have said, we will have not less than 12 sessions, and this is one out of those 12 sessions. Therefore, now let us see what are those potential variations. My purpose here was to show you that when we are studying about the issues on, or when we need to understand the issues on rules and guidelines, we must take considerations of those rules in every pattern, and also we must understand those rules in terms of every variation, and also we must understand those rules in terms of every combination. Therefore, in terms of major market patterns, example, when we start with an impasse, when we start with this major market move, that's what we call an impasse. Mainly an impasse have got several rules. Therefore, you will find that those major rules that usually we cover them at a basic level. We have those major rules that we usually cover them at the basic level. Those major rules at the basic level, all of those 3 rules covered at the basic level, you will find usually we discuss the rules about an impasse. Therefore, if you think that those rules are everything in when you are trading with Elliott wave, actually it's not true, because these are everything, not everything actually, these are just part of an impasse. Then we find that a market move in an Elliott wave principle has got an impasse and also has got corrections. Therefore, if you take consideration of those rules, it is only at the impasse direction. Therefore, you don't know anything about the corrections, and also you don't know anything about maybe combinations and other things. Therefore, that's why I said that the things we cover them at the basic level, and I was reminding you about this basic level of understanding of an Elliott wave, and I take you to advanced. And this, I'm just giving you this as an example to show you what we are going to cover on the coming sessions, because we have those now. We are going to dig deep on the coming sessions on the issues on what are the rules, what are the guidelines on every major market pattern in LOT wave and major market variations, and also the major market combinations. Therefore, let's consider the issues on impasse. Impasse has got various rules, whereby rule number 1 is an impasse always subdivide into 5 waves. An impasse has got 5, and mainly this impasse is the 5 wave move to the direction of the major trend. Therefore, there will never occur an impasse with the 3 waves. It must have 5 waves. Then how those 5 waves they build themselves within that structure, we'll find we have other rules that explain on how those 5 waves will build themselves to form what we call an impasse. Then wave number 1 subdivide into an impasse or rally, that's a diagonal. So now in an impasse, the building of every wave, now we are describing at least a building of almost every wave. You will find that wave number 1 in an impasse can be also an impasse. A wave number 1, now if this wave was wave number 1 in this direction, this was wave number 1 to the direction of the major trend. Now what will be the building structure of this wave number 1? Now we expect this wave number 1 to be something like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 to that direction. Therefore, if this wave number 1 will be let me minimize this. Actually, let me decrease this one. So if this one will be 1, then 2, then this is 3 to this direction, then 4, finally 5. It will be in this way, and this the major wave here. And the major wave here was number 1 to this direction. Therefore, if we have the internal structures 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, this will be impasse within an impasse. Therefore, wave number 1 will be number 1 of an impasse. Then its internal structures go to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 to that direction. Therefore, it will be also an impasse. But sometimes the building structure of wave number 1 can be this one to this direction. This is wave number 1. But when you consider those internal waves of this wave number 1, when you take consideration of those internal waves, you will find that internal waves are 1, then 2, 3, 4, finally 5 to that direction. Now you find that this was wave number 1, and this number 2, number 3, then number 4, final number 5 to that direction. But this wave number 1 has actually there is interference. Actually, it is not just interference, but wave number 4 has entered the price territory of wave number 1. Therefore, if that thing occur, this means that this is diagonal. But in an impasse, we don't expect this wave number 4 to enter the price territory of wave number 1. Therefore, the issue is wave number 1 can be its building structure, it can be an impasse by itself, and also it can be diagonal. That mainly is a leading diagonal. Wave number 3 always subdivide into an impasse. Wave number 3 also it has an impasse. We never had a diagonal. We never have diagonal in wave number 3. It is mainly an impasse. It means wave number 3 is only the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 to the major trend. And also wave number 5 subdivide into an impasse also, or it can be a diagonal. So now we have another diagonal in wave number 5. Now that diagonal, we expect to see it in wave number 1 is what we call the leading diagonal. A leading diagonal which its building structure is 5, 3, then 5, 3. This is leading diagonal. But we have a diagonal in wave number 5. Number 5 also can be a diagonal, whereby wave number 5, if it had a diagonal, this is what we call the ending diagonal. In wave number 5 is what we call the ending diagonal, whereby wave this ending diagonal is what we call the 3, 3, 3, 3. When we are talking about the 3, 3, 3 or the 5, 3, 3, 5, 3, 5, 3, this means we are talking about the internal structure of that diagonal. The 5, 3, it means the first wave has got 5, the second wave has got 3, number 3 wave has got 5, the last one has got a 3 actually. That's the meaning of those things. And when we have this 3, 3, 3, it means wave number 1 has got 1, 2, 3, number 2 has got 1, 2, 3, number 3, 1, 2, 3, number 4, yeah, something like that. That's the meaning of those things. But mainly an ending diagonal has got this internal building. Then wave number 2 always subdivide into a zigzag, flat, or combination. Wave number 2 subdivide into a zigzag, flat, or combination. Now those are what we call the rules. If they are the rules, it means they are usually they never disregarded. Don't block those things. Therefore, if wave number 2 is usually a zigzag or combination, therefore expect mainly to see zigzag in wave number 2, or you may find a combination. A combination, it means it can be a zigzag with a flat, or sometimes it can be a zigzag with a triangle or anything else. It means we have two. It means more than one corrective patterns. They are at the same price level. This is what we call the combination. That's why therefore number 2 can be just a zigzag, or can be a flat by itself, or it can be a combination. Then wave number 4, a zigzag, flat, triangle, or also can be a combination. Actually it is mainly it's like in the same way as wave number 2, but the major difference is wave number 4 can have a triangle by itself. Usually triangle is not deep. Triangle is a sideways correction. Therefore, you find that wave number 4 usually has got a characteristic of being shallow. Wave number 4 has got a property of being shallow. That's why you find that sometimes a triangle by itself may stand as a corrective structure in wave number 4, but a triangle can never stand as a corrective structure in wave number 2. So wave number 2 never moves beyond the start of wave number 1. I think this one is the one that we covered the basic level. At the basic level, we take consideration of this as one of the major rule. And then actually we don't cover the things. And here I'm just giving you as an example. I'm not going in detail about those things. I'll go in detail when we come to the second session, third session, until we reach the last session. I think it will be the 12th, or I think it is not less than 12. Therefore, I'll go beyond to those things, and I will link to what we call the real market structures. Here we are discussing a theory, and mainly on the coming sessions I will link you to what we call the real market structures. We'll go to live market and to see those major structures within a market. Then another thing, now this one is common actually. Then wave number 3 always moves beyond the end of wave number 1. Also, this is very basic. This one is very basic. In all cases, actually, not in most of cases or anything else, but in all cases, we expect to see wave number 3 traveling beyond the end of wave number 1. Usually it might be like that even in diagonal. It can be in the same way. Actually, we are talking about structure in an impasse, or rules in an impasse, but also even in diagonal it applies in the same way. We'll find that wave number 3 must travel beyond the end of wave number 1. Then wave number 3 is never the shortest. Yes, this one also is covered at the basic level. At the basic level, we discussed this also. We have those two things there. We covered the basic level, and we found that, oh, that's all about the issues on LO12 rules. But we are usually at the basic level, we discuss only the major rules. Those we call them as major rules, but everything is major here. But mainly those are like selected rules. We discuss those selected rules that guide you to get that structure of the market move based on Elliott wave. They just give you a structure, the overall structure, but they don't give you everything. But if you need to trade profitably with the Elliott wave, make sure that you cover all the rules in every structure. You cover them in every variation and in every combination. Therefore, these are some of them in an impasse. And also, wave number 4 never moves beyond the end of wave number 1. This one also is covered at the basic level. We have 1, 2, 3. All of those 3 things usually are discussed at the basic level. That's why I said that when we discuss those 3 Elliott wave rules, we actually discuss only on an impasse. Therefore, when you go to the market to trade, while taking consideration of only those 3 rules, it means you will fail to have rules that will guide you into corrective structure and other things. Therefore, mainly, you will find that the market always moves in an impasse and has got corrections. Therefore, those impasse have got also other variations out of those things here. Out of those 3 rules, it has got other possible variations that will cover them in guidelines. Therefore, if you cover only those 3 things and think that you are through with the Elliott wave, that's not true. Therefore, you must cover also other things that were the things that I'm going to take you through this projected, and actually we have planned, or we have projected anything else. Those planned 12 sessions. We have planned to have 12 sessions. Therefore, I will take you through all of the possible or the major variations. So another thing, or the last thing on the issues on rules, never are waves 1, 3 and 5 all extended. Or when we come to the issues on extension, now extension is discussed in detail on guidelines, where we'll find that we have extension on an impasse. Mainly the most common is extension on an impasse. In a corrective, actually it's very rarely, it depends on how the building structure of that corrective wave is. But mainly wave number 1, number 3 and 5 cannot all of them be extended. Now what is extension? Extension and other things, we'll cover them when we will be discussing guidelines. We have some guidelines here. These are the guidelines of an impasse. These are the guidelines of an impasse. But when we are going through this course, we will have those who call the guidelines. We will have those who call the guidelines. We have the guideline of extension. Now we will see how extension must be and where it must be formed. Now we have seen in an impasse. Now what we are looking here was a guideline of an extension in an impasse. But we may have extension in other waves. So when we will discuss about the issues on extension, we'll cover what is extension, how it takes place. And extension, just here, it is just extension, but sometimes we'll find that there is extension within extension. Therefore, we'll find that sometimes an extended wave may have its internal wave extended also. Therefore, we'll find that this is what we call the extension within an extension. Therefore, how will you identify those possible variations? Therefore, you must make sure that you follow the coming sessions. Actually, on the coming sessions, we will start discussing about those major guidelines. The issues on rules actually, they provide us with how to go with the market, or how to identify the structure of the market. But major market variations, they occur through those who call the guidelines. Major market variations, they are within the guidelines, but rules actually, they remain the same. They do not provide us with what we call the alternative counts. Actually, rules is very rarely to provide us with alternative counts. But when we come to guidelines, because they are disregarded or they are broken at certain points, therefore we will find that they provide us with different market variations. Therefore, to understand those variations, make sure that you go through this course, Advanced Forex course. And to go through this course, what you're supposed to do is to subscribe to this channel. Make sure that you hit the subscribe button in order to be able to get all of the important informations or the important lessons that will be released from this channel. Therefore, we have these guidelines of extension, truncation, alternation, equality, overlapping, channeling, personality. We have the ratio relationship, the depths of correction, and then we have the issues on volume. Now, all of these are what we call the guidelines, and here they are generalized. Actually, they are generalized. But when we come to cover based on every market pattern, you will find that there is variation. When we are talking about extension, it will be different in every market pattern. Maybe we have those who call the impasses, as we have discussed here. Then we will discuss market patterns like triangles. We'll discuss things like diagonal. Yes, we have those who call the zigzag actually, and then we have diagonals as usual, and then we have those who call the flats. All of these are what we call the major market structures or the major market patterns. Therefore, those guidelines, if it is extension, it may apply differently based on which market pattern are you taking in consideration at a time. So we are through with this example. This was an example. This one was an example of how rules and guidelines are. And here, those guidelines, there are very few. Wave number 4 will almost always be different corrective pattern than wave number 2. Therefore, this one is a guideline in an impasse. Wave number 4 almost always be different corrective pattern than wave number 2. Therefore, the difference between structure of wave number 2 and wave number 4, this one will be discussed on what we call the alteration. We have a guideline of alteration. Therefore, we will see alteration. Actually, we have alteration in an impasse, then we have alteration in a correction. We have alteration in an impasse, then we have alteration in a correction. Therefore, now the issues on the difference between wave number 2 and wave number 4, this is the guideline of alteration in an impasse. Therefore, when we come into guideline of alteration in a correction, you'll find that we'll have different conditions at which alteration may occur. But here, mainly, this guideline usually you can state it as a guideline of alteration. Then wave number 2 is usually a zigzag or zigzag combination. This being zigzag or zigzag combination, this is for purpose of having a very deep correction in wave number 2. Then wave number 4 is usually a flat or triangle or flat combinations. Now having flat or having triangle in wave number 4, this gives a message of shallow correction. This gives the message of shallow correction, and having a zigzag or combinations of zigzag, this gives a message of deep correction. That's why you'll find that in a general picture, we expect wave number 2 to be deep. Usually a general picture is like this: wave number 2 should be deep, then number 3, then number 4 should be shallow, then we go to number 5. Therefore, in order to have deep wave number 2, it must have a zigzag. A zigzag is something like this: A, B, C to the downside. Then wave number 4, in order to be shallow, it can be a flat, something like A, B, C, like this. It can be regular flat, expanding flat, or it can be a running flat or anything else. But a zigzag will have just only a single type of zigzag. We don't have variations on zigzag. But we can have triangles also in wave number 4. Number 4 sometimes going to be triangle, but all of them, they give us a message of shallow correction actually. These two guidelines, they provide us with all what to call the possible alterations between wave number 2 and wave number 4. Now, these are some of them. They are more than 10 here. We have more than 10 guidelines. We have a lot of them. Therefore, you must understand all of those guidelines. And where you are going to understand them is through subscribing to this channel and being able to get those updates from all of the remaining sessions that are going to be released. But if you are already covered the concept on Elliott wave, you have basics on Elliott wave principle, you may have maybe some ideas to cover which are part of advanced. Therefore, we had I think it is about 3 videos. There are 2 actually. We have this one, diagonal and wedge. We have this one, a video was recorded on diagonal and wedge. This video on diagonal and wedge, it was an idea about advanced Elliott wave. This was advanced Elliott wave, diagonal and wedge. This was an advanced, and we discussed about the issues on leading diagonal and ending diagonal, how you can identify them, and also how you can trade them. This was the part of advanced. And also we had another thing on triangles. This one, we had true and false, head and shoulder was advanced, and also we have this on triangles. Also the issues on triangle, how to identify and how to trade triangles. Also this was the part of on advanced. This was also a part on advanced, and actually this was from those who call the random sessions. They are not in a sequence as how we are going to do this. Now we are going to do those sessions sequentially. We'll have the first session, the second session, until we reach the last session. Therefore, now we are going to do those advanced courses sequentially, and this is the first session, and mainly this is just an introduction. We're introducing to you to what we call the advanced Elliott wave, and later on we'll discuss on the things and what is going to guide us. Now, what is going to guide us through this course is the issues on Elliott wave guidelines. Those are the things that will guide us through the course. If we need to start maybe with extension, now we will see all the possible variation on extension in an impasse, extension and correction, and every part that extension may take place. Also, we'll discuss the issues on extension within extension, and how you can identify it in a real market where extension occurs, now where extension mainly they are taking place, and also how to identify that here there is an extension. Therefore, we'll discuss all of those things when we will start and now it is from the second session. This is the first session. Therefore, from the second session, we'll start discussing all of the potential variation. Now, this is the end, and actually make sure that you subscribe to this channel, and everything is there. The channels is ASAM. It's mainly ASAM Forex TZ. Mainly, you can subscribe to this channel in order to get those informations, and also you can follow this We have this Light Forex broker, and actually this is actually approved broker that we suggest every person to use this one because have a well trading conditions. Everything is easy. The deposit and the withdrawal is easy through this broker, and also there are very minimal commissions, and the spreads actually they are very tight. It depends on which kind of account you will be trading with, but mainly everything is okay with this broker. Therefore, if you hit this button here, actually to direct you to the online platform where you can register yourself to this broker. So you can do this, and also you can subscribe to this channel. Thank you for your time and have a nice day.